Hey everyone, this is Yoni here from ControlUp. Welcome to the ControlUp 7.3 Innovations webinar. This one is going to be pretty great because we're going to cover some exciting technology and also some upcoming features which I know have been high on the list for many years now. So stay tuned, it's going to be great. So Yoni here, as some of you might know, I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders here at ControlUp. Quite excited to do this show, so let's just go ahead and start. Okay, so the agenda for today, we'll cover a few slides. I want to make sure that newbies will see the architecture and learn a bit about the company. But as usual, most of the time today will be spent on live demos. We'll showcase the newly announced, the newly GA available ControlUp 7.3 with obviously the major features. We have vSAN integration. Finally, we support Linux. For the first time ever, we can actually see live processes running on Linux guests. So we'll cover that as well. And the minor and yet, I think, highly anticipated feature in 7.3 is the backward compatibility of the agents. So also for the first time, users can now upgrade to ControlUp 7.3, but they can take their time upgrading the agents because we fully support connecting to all their versions. And we'll cover the details during the demo as well. The last part of the demos will be dedicated for new stuff, and I think you're going to enjoy that one. First, we'll cover what's coming in the new Insights release. It's mainly an infrastructure release, and I think we're going to cover some of the gaps you guys have seen with the platform, so it's going to be really great. And we'll end the webinar with a sneak peek to the upcoming ControlUp 7.4. And you can see on the slide already, it contains, I think, what is probably the most anticipated feature, at least from our existing customer base, and that's obviously automated actions. So we'll cover that. Stay tuned. Sorry, so okay, now you should see my screen. This is the agenda I just mentioned. So we covered that, and let's move on to the company overview. So now you should see my screen, hopefully. A few key data points about ControlUp. We've been out there providing what I hope is a great product since 2011. We have grown a lot in the last few years. You can see that with KPIs like the number of customers. We have a bit more than 1,000 enterprise customers right now. You will see some of the logos soon. The company has grown also from the headcount point of view. We have a rather large R&D organization based in Israel. Our headquarters is based in the Silicon Valley, and we keep growing a lot. So 2019, I think 2018 was a record year for us, and we're really hoping to break that record again this year. So things are looking really great for ControlUp. The main ControlUp use cases in a nutshell. Okay, so for those of you who have been working with ControlUp, nothing here should be new. But again, for newbies, I do want to make sure we're on the same page. So ControlUp is first and foremost, a troubleshooting, monitoring, remediation, and analytics platform for the compute infrastructure for our customers. On the upper side of the slide, you can see what is, I would say, a typical enterprise environment, whether it's mainly on-premises. So we cover the entire compute stack, whether it's the virtualization layer. We support all the major hypervisors, and obviously the actual workloads. We support the major commercial VDI products and any virtual server which is part of the compute stack. And we are also expanding into the public cloud infrastructure. As some of you might know, we already have API integration with Amazon. We are working on API integration with Azure. This should come during 2019. And the actual use cases, I think the demo will cover them better, but just as highlights, we focus mostly on monitoring and troubleshooting. We provide real-time views of every object we just mentioned, whether it's a hypervisor, a virtual machine, a user session, or a process. We offer a full set of remediation action. And with 7.4, it's going to be, for the first time, we are also going to enable auto remediation, which is a huge step forward as I see it. And finally, analytics. Okay, so analytics is big for us. It's part of ControlUp Insights, and we keep enhancing the feature set. And while I'll show the new Insights release, I'll cover some of that as well. I mentioned that we are going fast. You can see some of the existing and new logos here in the customer slides. I can tell you that during 2018, we have added to our portfolio some really great names, whether it's Aetna or Verizon or T-Mobile. Lots of new names. Telecommuting in the Nordics. We see great traction from the market, and that's great for us, obviously. Okay, so quick high-level overview of the architecture, and then we'll move on to the demos. So I bet many of you have seen this before, so I'll try to wrap this up quickly. The lower side of the slide here covers the customer environment. Okay, so the two main components, the two main ControlUp components which are located at the customer environment is A, the ControlUp real-time console, which we will see soon during the demo, and B, the ControlUp monitor service, which is a dedicated Windows service, which should be installed on a dedicated Windows server. Now, the real-time console obviously provides the real-time views, the ability to run remediation actions, and to configure incident triggers and new in 7.4 automated actions. The ControlUp monitor service is in charge of 24/7 alerts and data upload to ControlUp Insights. Okay, so in a nutshell, if you look on the way ControlUp works for online deployments, the customer or the prospect will download the ControlUp console from our websites, will launch it on his admin endpoint on dedicated servers, which is many times the case in larger environments. Via the console, it will connect the relevant components, whether it's the virtualization stack, specific Windows endpoint servers, connect to NetScalers or VDI solutions, which are part of the supported components, and then starts consuming the real-time grids and run actions. In addition, you can deploy the ControlUp monitor service from the console, again, for 24/7 to enable 24/7 data uploads and incident triggers. We are working on modernizing some of the real-time components. We'll not cover this today, but stay tuned for future webinars where we're going to showcase one of the biggest projects we're working on, and that's actually a porting project where we're going to introduce a new web-based console for the real-time views. So I'm not going to cover this today, but do stay tuned. It's going to be pretty big. When guys are using an online deployment module, then we as the vendor, we host the control plane and the historical databases. So what you see on the upper side of the slide, this is the ControlUp control plane, which includes the historical databases, the configuration database, basically all the web services which support the real-time solution and insights. We also fully support on-premises deployments. Customers can deploy the ControlUp server and the ControlUp database locally. And that's also available for any customer who, for, again, any reason, cannot work with a cloud-based solution. Okay, so unless there are any interesting questions regarding the architecture, I'm going to move forward with the main part of this webinar and the live demos. So again, a recap of what we're going to see. We'll start with a major focus on 7.3. We'll highlight the main new features, and then we'll move on to the next, the other parts. Okay, so I'm now showing on screen, and this time the screen is indeed displayed. I'm showing ControlUp 7.3. Just for housekeeping sake, ControlUp 7.3 is GA. It's generally available from our websites, I think since January. So just, if you haven't done so, go ahead, upgrade, and enjoy the new features and bug fixes. Again, for the sake of new prospects or customers, I will do a 2 minutes overview of the console, and then we'll dive into the new 7.3 features. So in a nutshell, on the right side of the screen, you can see the computer tree, the managed object tree, which is where we can see everything which is part of the ControlUp organization. Okay, we start with hypervisors. And as mentioned, we support all the major commercial hypervisors, whether it's vSphere, XAN Server Hyper-V, and newly added since 7.2, that's Nutanix Acropolis Hypervisor. All of them are supported via native API integrations, so no need to deploy any agents. Just supply the web service URL, relevant credentials, and then we can start querying the hypervisors for host, VMs, and storage statistics and metadata. Next is cloud connections. We currently support Amazon, and specifically EC2, EBS, and a few other services. Next, we have the Vdi support. Currently, we have native API integration with Zen Desktop 7X. So that would be any Zen Desktop version you guys might be running. We are working on a few new integrations in the VDI arena. We are working on Citrix Cloud integration. We are working on Horizon. During 2019, we're going to publish a few new ControlUp versions, which will extend our native API integration with additional VDI players in the market. The main benefits for integrating ControlUp with the VDI solution itself is to get visibility into things like registration state, broker health, and things which are not directly visible from the ControlUp agent running inside the actual workloads. NetScale integration, another new feature from the last couple of versions. We have native API integration via the Nitro API with any NetScaler boxes. We show real-time data for the box itself and for the main components, whether it's load balancers, gateways, sessions, anything which matters for NetScalers. We'll cover Linux in a sec because that's new in 7.3. And obviously the ControlUp agent, which can run on any Windows box and Linux starting in 7.3, which supplies the fine-grained details about sessions, processes, and all the more advanced data collections we have going on. Now, once ControlUp is obviously connected to everything you see here, we will populate the real-time views, whether it's the host, the computers, sessions, and everything includes both real-time performance metrics. We update data every 3 seconds, and whenever it's relevant, interesting metadata about that specific object, whether it's a session, host, or whatnot. Okay, so that's, again, high-level overview of what's going on with ControlUp. Obviously, the drill-down concept is crucial in ControlUp. We can always find a stress cell. We can drill down into it, and ControlUp Virtual Expert, which is another main theme for us, which keeps getting better in each release, will help the end user to kind of pinpoint the root cause of performance issues. I can tell you guys that the Virtual Expert concept has been well received by the community, and as part of the feedback, we're going to enhance the Virtual Expert concept in 7.4, and we're going to suggest, in addition to drill down navigations, we're going to also suggest specific scripts which might help either remediate the issue or get more context or data about the issue. So that will be part of 7.4. Now let's start concentrating on the new features in 7.3. So the first new feature is vSAN support. So I bet most of you heard about hyperconverged. It's a pretty common technology in today's data centers. Nutanix were the first ones, the first vendor to actually introduce hyperconverged technologies, but soon after, the major vendors have followed, and VMware came with their own implementation called vSAN. We're seeing vSAN being adopted quite rapidly in our customer base, and we got quite a few requests to actually extend our storage integration to include vSAN-based data stores. And that's exactly what we did with 7.3. So I'm going to double-click on this new object presented here. Before that, just to make to be on the same page, the way we discover vSAN is it's fully automatic, right? So once you add a vSphere cluster, we will automatically find any vSANs configured, and we'll present this as a new object as part of the tree. Now, by focusing on the new vSAN object, ControlUp will automatically select relevant presets and will display the data points you see on screen. We have quite a few objects related to vSAN. One is obviously the data store itself. We also have data stores on hosts, which is essentially the same data store, but how it behaves from the point of view of each ESXi host in this specific cluster. And finally, we have the virtual disks running on the relevant vSAN data store. Now, it's important to note that everything here is coming from the native vSAN API provided by VMware. As far as I know, we are the first vendor to actually integrate a third party with the vSAN API. It includes really great metrics. You can see some of them on screen right here. So obviously, IOPS and IOPS latency, but also some specific vSAN metrics which can really help to figure out what's the current health of the vSAN data store, whether it's outstanding I request or the congestion, all the way down to the health metric, which is obviously drillable. And once you double click on the vSAN health as part of the virtual expert theme, we can actually show you all the relevant health metrics which affect the current health score of the vSAN data store. Now, from a drill down perspective, we can, as usual with ControlUp, we can drill down into the data store and we can see the additional components. As mentioned, the first drill down will take us to the Esxi host breakdown. In this case, we can see we have, this would be ES6 vSAN Demo 2, which is currently in a high stress due to some higher IOPS. And then we can drill down and see the actual vdisk file name. Okay, we can see to which VM it's attached to. You can see it here as part of the VM name column. And assuming our agent is deployed on this specific virtual machine, which is attached to this vdisk, we can drill down and go directly to, oh, sorry, I'm focusing right now, but we can go directly to the processes view and see essentially which process is causing high IOPS in this example, right? So in this case, this is the vSAN vdisk. I can drill down and I can see the process live view. In this case, again, we are running iometer to produce some stress on this virtual disk. Okay, we support vSAN 6.6 and 6.7. And I think, again, for anyone who's using this technology or considering it, this is a great addition to the ControlUp storage-related feature set. Okay, so no questions. We'll move on to the Linux integration. Okay, so
Yoni, sorry to interrupt. I have just double mute, so this is why I waited for a sec. I see some questions around the vSAN licensing. Can you shed a bit more light around that topic?
Yeah. The answer is straightforward, and I think the audience will appreciate it. We do not require additional ControlUp licenses for vSAN. So I'm assuming you're licensed and you're already covered in regards to your vSphere VM counts. You're covered. So no additional licenses are needed for vSAN.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so Linux integration. So this is, for me, it's quite exciting. For a long time, ControlUp was a unique platform in the industry in regards to real-time view of process data, remediation action, things that I think is part of what made ControlUp really special. But we were kind of limited to Windows use cases. So obviously VDI, where being Windows only is not that bad. But if you look on data center use cases, many customers run side-by-side Windows and Linux boxes, whether it's for web use cases, databases, etc. And over the years, we heard customers saying, we use ControlUp to see what's going on, to pinpoint performance issues, run remediation actions, but we want to expand that also to our Linux server estate. So really happy to share with you guys that since 7.3, we support Linux. We currently officially support CentOS and Red Hat Enterprise, RHEL, which, based on our finding, is probably the two most common Linux flavors in the enterprise. We are planning to support additional Linux flavors in the future. And you can see on the grid these, we actually have here, so we have 6 Linux boxes right here. Oh, by the way, one other comment I forgot to mention. We also support the Amazon EC2 Linux flavor, the Linux AMI, which is probably one of the most used servers out there in the market. So correction, CentOS, Red Hat, and the AWS Linux AMI. Now let's understand a bit how the Linux integration works. So just like adding hypervisor connection or NetScaler, the same rule applies for Linux. So you need to add what we call a Linux data collector. This would be either the console itself or a dedicated agent, just like any other of our extensions. And via the Linux data collector, we will add the relevant Linux servers into the ControlUp configuration. Okay, so it will look something like this. we'll create a new Linux data collector. We will name it. We need to provide relevant credentials. These should be credentials that exist on the Linux target. And using the add button, we can actually type in the Linux host IP address or select a range, and then click on scan. Once we click on scan, what will happen in the background, we will try to connect to the Linux targets via SSH. We will validate the credentials, and then we will only if these steps were validated, we will enable the customer to click on add and actually add the Linux box into the ControlUp organization. Okay, so that's the high-level flow of adding a Linux box into ControlUp. Now, once the Linux box is actually connected, let's focus on one of the Linux folders around here. Okay, so essentially the way it works, we use the Linux data collector to actually launch an SSH connection every 10 seconds, connect via SSH to the Linux targets, run a few commands that will grab statistics and metrics about processes, logical disks, and the Linux box itself. These stats are being sent back to the Linux data collector. They are parsed there and then sent to the ControlUp console or monitor services. Okay, so again, it's an agentless SSH-based data collection. It's being done via the configured Linux data collector, and it will provide all the metrics you're seeing on screen right now. So in this case, you can see the computer level metrics. So we support obviously real-time CPU, memory, disk latency, network usage. And obviously the main ControlUp advantage is the ability to drill down into any of these Linux boxes and see the live processes view with the respective CPU, RAM, and DIO metrics. Okay, so full-blown support for CentOS and Red Hat and Amazon Linux AMI. The way we integrated Linux into the ControlUp console is similar to Windows devices, which means all the native ControlUp features like incident triggers, console-side SBAs, historical reports, incidents, security policy, everything is also supported for the Linux workloads. Okay, this is a crucial point, and this is why, unlike the virtual machines or Zendesk or VDAs, which are not part of the ControlUp tree, Linux boxes are part of the ControlUp tree in order to enable the feature set I just mentioned. Again, whether it's the historical reports and insights, incident triggers, or the security policy. Okay, so just to stress this point here, we'll quickly go, for example, to the triggers option. And again, here we can create a trigger. I will not do it right now, but just want us to stress the point. For example, if we look on the scope option of the trigger, we can definitely select a folder containing only Linux boxes, and this way narrow down the trigger to be executed or be detected only on Linux-related targets.
Yoni, around vSAN, will you be able to apply all the magnificent capabilities of ControlUp on that as well, like incident triggers and other?
Yeah, for sure. vSAN is a single object, so obviously we fully support incident triggers, SBAs, and everything related to that feature.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, great. So these are, again, the main features of the Linux integration. SSH, agentless data collection, stats, real-time stats being updated every 10 seconds. The support, we mentioned the supported flavors, and the full feature set support throughout the entire ControlUp real-time platform. I strongly suggest or encourage you guys to try this out. Try and add a few Linux boxes to your ControlUp environment. I think that the fact that you can see side by side Windows and Linux workloads and view everything in the same processes view and get the same kind of granular triggers on everything is a huge plus in ControlUp 7.3. Okay, I'm moving on to the last but not least 7.3 feature I want to highlight, and that's the agent backward compatibility feature. So those of you with the keen eyes, I guess, might have noticed this small exclamation mark on some of the computers in the tree. So this new icon actually represents a Windows computer which is currently running an outdated agent version. Okay, so this is obviously the UI queue for this feature. We fully support 7.1 and 7.2 agents. Okay, so just to be clear, customers can upgrade the console to 7.3 or future releases, whether it will be 7.4 or 8, and they can seamlessly connect to all previous agents as long as these agents are 7.1 and above. Okay, there is one other relevant detail to mention here. Newer features, which are only supported in newer agents, will not be part of the console if you connect to an older agent. And let me explain. For example, a new agent side feature we added in 7.2 is the disk and I/O metrics for processes, right? So since 7.2, we have new disk read write kbps and network send receive kbps metrics for each and every process. This was added in 7.2. So this means that if I'm now upgrading my environment to ControlUp 7.3, but I'm connecting to 7.1 agents, specifically for the computers running 7.1, we will not see these metrics, or will not see data for these metrics in the upgraded console. Okay, so it's fully supported. It obviously enables a much more streamlined upgrade experience. But if you want to enjoy the full new feature sets with the ControlUp new version, you do need to upgrade. Eventually, we'll need to upgrade the agents to the latest release. Okay, great. So again, these were the highlights for 7.3. GA, again, I encourage everyone to upgrade as soon as possible. Let's move on to the new ControlUp, to Insights 1.24. Okay, so ControlUp Insights, as most of you know, I guess, is obviously our hosted web application that exposes historical reports and analytics. ControlUp Insights 1.24 is mainly an infrastructure release. I think it's a great advancement for any existing Insights user, because we were able to tackle a few of the biggest gaps we had with the existing Insights platform. And by that I mean the highlighted points here. So let's start with the first one. The first one is the existing delay between data uploads to Insights and data availability in the web interface itself. So let's view it via the good old ControlUp Live demo. So I'm currently logging on into ControlUp Insights. You might notice that this is obviously not the production URL. This is our pre-production environment. This is the staging environment. This is where we're running the upcoming Insights 1.24 release. Now, I mentioned that the first gap we have with current version is the rather large delay between the time we upload data from the real-time platform until it's actually available for customers. So currently we're speaking about anything between 2.5 hours to something like 3 hours on a normal day operations. In the upcoming ControlUp release, we are actually trimming this down into something around 30 to 60 minutes. Okay, so you can see right now, the actual time is 12:30. You can see that the last data point in Insights is 11:50. Okay, this is Israel time zone. So currently we're only seeing a 40 minutes delay between the real-time monitor upload and to actually seeing the data available in ControlUp. This is a big step forward. It's going to, I think, really, well, I can actually say revolutionize some of the use cases for ControlUp Insights, because data is much nearer to real time. So again, Insights 1.24, the data delay is going to be between 30 and 60 minutes, depending on the exact customer configuration. And this is something which is, the way I see it, is a major enhancement to the platform. Okay, so one important point. Now, another thing we were able to enhance with 1.24.
Yoni, sorry to interrupt you. I just see a lot of questions around the previous topic, and that's what is the minimal version of the agent that will be supported in the backward compatibility? 7.1, for instance, will be supported, or it's just 7.2?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the backward compatibility feature is relevant for 7.1 agents onwards.
Okay,
so
perfect.
If you're on 7.1, you're good, and you can actually use the neural consoles to connect and seamlessly work with the console monitor without mandatory upgrading the agents.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So
okay. So again, we're on the Insights 124 topic. The first major enhancement is shorter data delay, as you can see on screen. Now, the second enhancement is query time. So in the existing Insights release, quite a few reports are working just great, but we have a few specific reports, especially the application reports, which at some certain conditions might take a long time to actually generate the results. And I'm happy to share with you guys that we have put in a lot of efforts into enhancing the underlying serving layer and the query language and essentially the entire Insights backend infrastructure. And the results are really great. Okay, so just a few examples. We are now looking on the application usage details reports. I'm going to select one of my favorite applications ever. Okay, the ControlUp Real-Time Console. And you will see that in less than probably 2 or 3 seconds, we already have the data available for the report, right? Whether it's the actual trend of the application usage over time, and whether it's the fine-grained details about the users who are running this specific application. Now, the enhancement also applies for a longer period of time. If I'll click on 1 month, obviously it won't take 2 or 3 seconds, but you will see that the query is still very fast. And under 5 seconds, we should already get data and get the full, blown results from the reports. In this case, again, the full list of user accounts who ever ran this application in the selected time frame, and the peak concurrency over 1 month period of time. Okay, so again, lots of investment and major enhancement of the Insights backend, which results in much faster queries for all the major reports we have as part of Insights. Now, last but not least, and this is something we have heard from many customers, is data granularity. Okay, so currently in Insights, we do have the 5 minutes granularity available, but only for the last couple of days. Okay, once 2 or 3 days have passed, we start running our aggregation algorithms, and data is being actually transferred from 5 minutes to 30 minutes, and then to 1 hour data points. And many customers have pointed out that even though they can see data for the last month, the fact that they only have 1 hour data points is a major pain for some use cases, especially if you want to troubleshoot short CPU peaks or short high latency issues for sessions. And I'm really, really happy to share with you guys that starting with Insights 124, we're actually going to enable 5 minutes granularity for the entire past month. Okay, and then let's get a quick taste of how it's going to look. So I'm going to select a specific computer in here, CRSH1, one of our servers. So I'm now looking on the last 24 hours worth of data. Okay, so we can see the the usual trends over time, and obviously this is 5 minutes resolution, right? Because it's looking on the past day. Okay, so 5 minutes, and as usual, we can click on a data point and get the top 5 processes for that specific metric, CPU or MRI. Now, if I'll click on the 1 month preset, obviously Insights will show me the last month worth of data, and by default it will show me a data point every 1 hour in order to avoid a very cluttered chart. Okay, so you can see this is the overall CPU usage of the last months, and we can see we have a data point every 1 hour, just like in the existing production version. Now here's the kick. I can see here. Let's see here in the I/O, maybe it will be more interesting. We can see that we have like a pretty high I/O peak back in January 23rd. Okay, we now enable customers to actually click on the time selector, go back and look specifically on January 23rd. Let's select 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Now we are looking on a day which is almost a month ago, but still because of the new 5 minutes granularity feature, we can now see data points every 5 minutes. Okay, so we have full access to the 5 minutes raw data while looking on like historical, past month data points and insights. And this is pretty great. It's going to, again, enhance insights use cases, especially for troubleshooting, whether it's for host, VMs, or for session-related issues. Okay, unless there are any questions, actually one thing I do want to stress to mention, we're planning to start a public beta of the new Insights release quite soon. I'm hoping we can open it in the beginning of March. So if anyone is interested to start accessing the new Insights release and experience the 5 minutes resolution, the faster queries, the shorter delay, just send an email to support at ControlUp.com, ask to be part of the beta, and we're going to send you the link once it's available again, hopefully in the beginning of March. Okay, so finally, sneak peek into ControlUp 7.4. So let's quickly load the alpha version I have here. Okay, so as you can hopefully see on screen, this is one of the alpha builds we have running here, ControlUp 7.4. You can see the version here. So 7.4 is going to be primarily focused around the action themes. Okay, so we're going to add automated action, which we'll cover in a sec. But we're also going to enhance some of the script-based action-related functionality, whether it's to support the upcoming automated action feature or for other use cases. And I already mentioned the enhancement to the virtual expert, which is going to suggest to you guys specific scripts in the specific context you guys are currently at, whether it's a stress cell or just looking on a specific metadata column in one of the entities. Okay, so automated actions. As I started the webinar, I think that by far the number one requests for customers were the ability to run actions based on incident triggers. And I'm really happy to share with you guys that this is coming in 7.4. And let's speak about the way it's going to be implemented. So obviously it's going to be part of the existing incident trigger mechanism. Okay, so most of you hopefully are familiar with that feature. This is where we can actually configure rules for ControlUp with specific conditions, and ControlUp will continuously look for these conditions, and once they're met, ControlUp can create an incident. Now, prior to 7.4, the only thing we could actually do with the platform once we detect an incident is to generate a real-time alert. Right, so I mean, whether it's typical email alerts or the more advanced mobile push notification, or whether it's to generate an event in the event viewer. But all of these were alerts, right, which is obviously very helpful for lots of use cases. But something was still missing, and that's obviously the ability to actually run an action, or in our case, a script-based action, once an incident trigger conditions are met. And there are many use cases for that. Over the past few months, we're actually working on expanding the script-based action library and make sure that once we go live with 7.4 and the automated action feature, you guys will also have the content available in place for some of what we think is great use cases for automated actions. We'll cover that part in a sec, but let's see in the UI how it's going to look like. So I'm going to select, any of these incident trigger types. Let's look on advanced triggers, for example. Let's take one extreme use case, which some of you might find interesting. So I'm going to select the process entity, and from a condition point of view, I'm going to select something quite drastic. I'm going to say, CPU is greater than or equal to 100%, and the name is, let's find the name here. And the name is, annoying app.exe. Okay, we all have these in our arsenal. Now, let's make it even more extreme. Let's say that this is happening for 5 minutes. Okay, so essentially what we told ControlUp here is that if annoying app is consuming 100% CPU for more than 5 minutes, trigger the incident, create the incident in our backend database. Okay. Now, assuming annoying app is a pure client-side application and killing it will not interfere with some backend process, this might be an ideal use case for automation, right? Because this app is running, it's killing the box it's running on, whether it's an RDS8 server or a single user VDI endpoint. And in a lot of cases, you guys are currently manually looking for this in the grid and run the kill process action to get rid of this and relieve the server resources. In 7.4, this manual, tedious process can be automated. Okay, and the way you can do that is obviously reach the follow-up action screen and select the newly added run an action feature. Okay, so we're not going to go into the details of exactly how it's going to work and what are the necessary permissions for that. We will cover that in an upcoming webinar. But for now, it's enough to know that we will enable you guys to actually select any enabled script-based action and configure it as a follow-up action to the incident triggers you guys just configured. Okay, so for example, if I'll go ahead and select here the terminate process script-based action, what will happen in the background is as following. ControlUp will detect the incident conditions. In this case, annoying app.exe is consuming 1% CPU for more than 5 minutes. And once this incident will fire, the ControlUp monitor service will also fire the terminate process PowerShell script on the relevant target computer. The script will obviously terminate the process, and the results will be logged into the monitor service event log with the full audit details. Okay, so clean as a whistle, very simple, nothing too fancy, but the use cases are pretty much infinite. Okay, and then you can think yourself about things like automating remediations for unregistered VDAs, automating service health in specific cases. Let's say you have a service where you know if a specific event was logged in the event viewer, you know that the service is no longer stable, and until now the manual remediation process was to restart the service. We can now automate this, and lots of other things in regards to automated action. Since this is a very powerful capability, we have enhanced the security policy with quite a few new security rules, which will enable a very granular approach to securing the access to both configuring this feature and also configuring which SBAs are permitted to run as part of the upcoming automated action feature. Okay, so that's a lot of details. Any questions in regards to the upcoming feature, things I might have missed during this intro?
There are quite a few questions, not necessarily around this topic, but one of them is there any available date for, do we have a date for GA for V7.4?
She's going over new trials.
Estimation.
On the website. Quote request, events.
Yeah, okay, good question about the 7.4 timeline. So we do not have a date for the GA, but we do have a good estimation for the beta. The beta is planned for April. Okay, so that's not too far. April is just a month and a half from now. Hopefully, the beginning of April, we'll be able to start the public beta for ControlUp 7.4.
Yeah, and another question is, can we add our own scripts for actions? I think the answer is yes. Any script-based action could actually be a potential script follow-up action, right?
Indeed, yeah, you're totally right. Since the automated action in 7.4 is built on top of the script-based action platform, then it's fully extendable. Customers can create their own scripts and then obviously use that as part of the automated actions feature. I do want to show something here for you guys. I know that some of you have seen that, but not all of you guys. So this is the kind of like the web user interface for the script-based action community library, right? And by that I mean what we can see here, right? So most of you know that we have a community actions screen on top, which enables you guys to browse what's available for everyone and download it to be used whether by the on-demand action in 7.3 or by the upcoming automated action in 7.4. Now, one thing I want to share with you guys is that in the past few months, we are working with some top experts in the field We are working with Guy Leach. We are working with Ton de Vrede. We are working with Tran and Tai, and a few other community leaders. And these guys help us expand the script-based library for really great scripts. Some of them are quite complex, but for great use cases. And that's being done for two purposes. One, for on-demand troubleshooting actions, which will be available already now, right? So things like troubleshoot high IO usage of a process by running ETW collection or procman in the background and pointing you to the actual file causing high IO usage for a process. This is a classic use case for on-demand troubleshooting, but at the same time, we are expanding the library to be able to launch the 7.4 automated actions with a very, I would say, with a very thick library of ready-made actions, which will make sense for any VDI or data center related shop. Okay, so that's it, at least now for 7.4. I want to really thank you guys for the time. Hopefully, learned a lot about ControlUp and the upcoming new features. Again, go ahead, upgrade to 7.3. Now with the agent backward compatibility feature, it's a breeze. And stay tuned for news about 7.4 and insights. And again, if you want to be part of our beta community, it's as simple as sending an email to support, and we'll add you guys to the list, and you will be notified via email once the public beta starts. Thanks everyone. Have a great day, and we'll chat soon.